As far as South Africa, you were just talking about it a little bit. What exactly happened down there?
I got down there, and the day after I was there, I started getting sick, and I just kept getting sicker, and I was so dehydrated I couldn't even breathe.
Yeah.
Every 10 minutes I was in the bathroom, I would chug water, I would chug sodas, juice, anything I could get my hands on, because every 10 minutes I felt like I had sand in my mouth and just couldn't breathe. I go to the hospital, they keep me on IV all night, go through a few bags of IV, they send me back to the hotel. 6 or 8 hours later, I'd be so dehydrated I couldn't breathe again, I'd go back. This went on the whole week.
Wow.
Well, at that point in time, they were only flying out of Durban once a week, because this was in 89.
Okay.
So if I didn't get out the Thursday coming up, I'd have been stuck there for another week, and I knew I wasn't going to make it another week. When I arrived there on that one Thursday, I weighed 267. When I got home 7 days later, I was 232.
Oh my God!
And when I got home, I had drank and eaten a lot of food the night before I went to bed, and went to the doctor in the morning. So I probably had lost more than 35 pounds in 6 days or 7 days.
Wow.
And it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, Gary Albright, he passed away as well. I was in Durban, I was in the hospital. I said, Gary, you got to help me get out of here. I said, if I stay another week here, I'm not going to make it. I said, I don't want to have my family have to come halfway around the world to retrieve my body.
Yeah.
So I said, I want to get the hell out of here. So he scheduled one of his friends to pick me up. Guy drove me to the airport. I had enough cash on me to buy a ticket from Durban to Johannesburg. So now at home, I had my family buying me a ticket from Johannesburg all the way back home. I mean, this was 20 years ago, so I didn't have a bunch of cash on me. They were paying for everything, but I had enough to cover the one ticket on the spur of the moment. So I get to Johannesburg, and it's like the ticket came through about 15 minutes before the flight left. It wouldn't have come through. I'd have been stuck there and probably been dead there, because now I would have been in Johannesburg where I knew no one.
Yeah.
So luckily I got on the plane there, and I was fighting to keep from blacking out the whole time. And I would keep a bag full of sodas and water, whatever I could find, because I just couldn't even breathe. So from there, I said, don't hold me to it. This is what I remember of it vaguely.
Yeah.
It was like a 5-hour flight to Kenya. We had like a 5-hour layover in Kenya on the runway with the doors open. It was about 120 degrees.
Wow.
From there we flew, I think, 9 hours to Amsterdam, and I had a 12-hour layover. When I got to Amsterdam, they weren't going to let me on the plane because I was so sick. And I said, look, I don't think I have anything contagious. It's dysentery, malaria, something like that, but I don't think it's contagious. I said, if I die, I'm going to die in the States. I made it this far, I'm going home.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was laying on the floor in the airport for 12 hours. I would just crawl in the bathroom every 10 minutes, and one end or the other would be coming out. As soon as I drink all the fountain, I'd go in again, and it was just horrible. And then from there we flew to New York City. But on that flight from Amsterdam to New York, I blacked out a few times. And I know that they called a doctor on the plane, and he'd mix up these packs for me, like maybe blood sugar packs or something, to keep reviving me, so to speak. And I got to New York, and I just know they had some kid wheel me off in a wheelchair. And whatever money I had in my hand, I don't have any clue to this day what it was. I just gave it to him. I said, give me something to eat, because I wanted to see if I could keep some food and water down back in my own country.
Yeah.
He came back with a sub and a bottle of water, and it's the first time I even drank something where I didn't go right to the bathroom. I'm like, my God, it stayed down.
Yeah.
Now, I'm delirious. On top of losing 35 pounds in 6 days, I haven't slept now in 2 days because I've been flying and all this stuff, trying to get home for 30-some hours.
Yeah.
So now we're in New York. I have like a 5-hour layover to fly to Harrisburg. I didn't care if I passed out there. I didn't care if I went to the hospital there.
Yeah.
I didn't even pick my luggage up. I said, leave it. I said, just get me to my gate and let me go. And I made it home, and I was pretty delirious, because I remember at that time I couldn't even remember my girlfriend's name for the first 3 or 4 days. Went to the doctor. He said probably dysentery, probably a bit of malaria, because of my symptoms I was so bad. Well, then after that, that's when my shoulder got screwed up there.
In South Africa?
Yeah, I got screwed up in Stampede, and then it got worse in South Africa. That's one of the other reasons. I mean, I mainly went there to keep my word to the guy, but I also went there because I wanted my shoulder to be better before I started with Titan. So anyway, after about 2 weeks at home, I started feeling a little better. Then I went down there and got those shots of cortisone, and then cortisone again, and all of a sudden I was getting sicker and sicker. My immune system was just completely screwed up, and everything that came along. I had bronchitis every 6 weeks for 3 years. I was just constantly sick.
Wow.
Until they figured out that I developed an infection in my intestinal tract from all these antibiotics and dysentery and cortisone reaction and all that stuff. And then it just took me about 3 years went by. I went to 10 different doctors. I spent every penny I had on medical bills. And then after all that, and one doctor in Maryland finally figured out what it was. And he said the problem is you're going to have to take medicine for as long as he was sick, because it was through my entire intestinal tract. So it's about 2.5 years on some medicine.
Wow.
And then one day after about 5.5, 6 years, whatever it was, I woke up and I was like, my God, I can see clearly today. I can think clearly today. And then that was it. I spent 10 minutes in the gym, and the next day 15, and so on and so on. And after about a year, I'm like, that's it, I'm going back.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I never thought I'd be able to go back all these years. I mean, I thought I was going to die for 2 years when I went to bed.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And you were saying you had you made arrangements with Titan to start with them before you went?
When I came down, I was supposed to go, I had a tryout with them, and then I said, I want to wrestle with you guys more than anything. That's been my ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. But I said I gave this guy my word that I would wrestle in South Africa, and he's already got the flyers out. He has me work a main event down there for 3 weeks. Well, for them, it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was talking with Pat Patterson and one of the other guys in the office.
Terry Gardner?
It might have been. I don't want to say because I can't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're like, well, just start with us when you get back. You know, they didn't care.
Yeah.
So anyway, I came back. Some time went by, and they put me on a show. I was just so sick that it took everything I had not to black out in the match. I actually had a good match.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't do it. I was just fighting to keep from passing out the whole time. And about a year or two later, they put me on another one. And I said to Pat, I appreciate this. And I had a good match again. I wrestled Mike Sharp the one night, and I forget who I wrestled the other time. But we actually had a pretty good match. And it was pretty good. They were good houses.
Yeah.
Even Gene Okerlund came up to me at that time. He goes, I'm pretty sure we have a spot for you because the matches went pretty well.
Yeah.
And I told Pat, I said, Pat, I feel like living hell. I'm still sick. I won't ever bother you again. Do I feel like I can come back? So then around 90, end of 96, 97, whatever it was, then I showed up at one of the events and talked with him in person and said, I think I'm ready to come back. And you know, and even I remember, Vince may not remember, but he was even a little reluctant because I was out of the ring for 6 years. And they gave me a chance. They put me on the road for a little while. Some of the matches went well, and they put me back in Stanford in the ring over there for a week or two. And so I spent a few weeks just polishing up, and then fortunately I got the shot and was back on the road for a while.
Wow. Was it hard once you started getting better and getting back in the gym to get your muscle tone back and get your athleticism and coordination back down?
I didn't feel too bad with that, and believe it or not, when I was sick, I don't know how, I actually just stayed large.
Huh.
I gained weight, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't look overly heavy, but I did gain some weight. I was about 290
wow.
at one point when I first started going back to the gym, and I just kept pretty good strength. I said to my brother, because he was in the gym with me each week, I'm like, I don't understand this. I just spent 2.5 years or 3 years, whatever it was, in bed, and my strength is about the same.
Yeah.
It was kind of bizarre, but all I did was eat and sleep. I probably slept 18, 20 hours a day for 2.5 or 3 years. I couldn't really function much. I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
So,
was the WWF like in contact with you throughout the time, or did you just kind of stay away until you were ready to come back?
Yeah, I would call, talk to Pat. From the best of my recollection, I would call, talk to Pat, Terry. I think sometimes I'd talk with Korea because I knew him from the independents, but it was primarily Patterson. But no, it's not like they were calling me, hounding me when I could come back, because I hadn't even really started with them.
Yeah.
So it was just, here and there, and they would put me on shows to see what I could do.
Yeah.
And that was it. They did that. They gave me like 3 different shows like that. And like I said, the last time I told myself I won't ever bother you again until I can give you a definite answer. I'm not going to have to pull this and go home sick again.
Yeah.
So.
Was it hard, because what I hear from the guys all the time is the worst part about being injured is mentally not being able to work out, not being able to be physical. Did you go crazy just not being able to be as physical as you used to be?
I couldn't stand it because I had been working out since the time I was about 13 years old. So not being able to train was eating at me. Not being able to just go bang on the heavy bags and do some, wrestling with people was driving me crazy. I couldn't do anything physical. If I dropped down the floor and did 50 push-ups, I'd be tired for 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
I never forget, I had an 85-pound dumbbell at home. I'd pick it up, I'd do 1 set of curls with this arm, 1 with this arm, and I'd sleep for 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
It was just awful. And there were many nights where I'd have to keep thinking of reasons just not to blow my head off.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're sick for years, and from the infection in my stomach, my vision was being distorted, so I couldn't even read a book. So it's one of those things. And there were about 20 times where I started to come up with reasons with my family or whatever not to do something drastic.
Yeah.